Okay, so we're back. We're still talking about what people think success should look like and making things stick. And in reality, we know that success is really not a linear path, and there are many challenges along the way. We talked in the previous discussion just about how at least, I think having a plan, and to your story, the Cheshire Cat asking Alice in Wonderland which path she wanted to take, and ultimately saying, well, if you don't have a plan of where you'd like to be, you should do whatever path you feel like. There's no real point to any of it. So let's just have a chat about the next part of this. Do you want to kick it off, Chris?
One of the things that I think of when I see that chart is safety. And you talk with a lot of safety professionals, whether they're supporting medium, small or large businesses, and they say, whatever their measure is, let's call it lost time injury frequency rate or total injury frequency rate, it always needs to be better tomorrow than it is today. And that pressures a lot of leaders and a lot of safety professionals to just change their plan all the time, that no one criticizes them for doing something when they could be criticized for continuing to do what they were doing and agreed beforehand, even if you get a stumble along the way. And although I believe fervently that all injuries can be prevented, I do not believe that on any single day, that doesn't mean you're going to have an awful event that you didn't plan for. So, you don't want lean, just like you don't want safety to be a flash in the pan where the next incident or turnover the next leader, or if you bought out the next owner, takes your lean plan out and replaces it with their fad.
It's interesting that, and to go back a little bit to the, leaders need to be seen to be doing something. And I know in a big corporate environment, the executives in the business and the CEO quite often pretty early on in their tenure will roll in their favorite consultant, their favorite consulting firm, and start to implement a plan. The research says that because the relationships between those consultants and those CEOs is so strong, even if the CEO's never seen those consultants successfully deliver a project and it hasn't stuck in the business, they will still get them in to when they move into their next role to make a change and to make a difference in that business. And the result of that is, like you said, if you're recent into the business and you come and apply your own flavor to it, the problem there is that you're not around for a long time. Certainly CEOs aren't around for a long time. It's unusual for them to have long tenure in, I would say, in Western businesses. And the result of that is that their cultural change or their shift to make their improvement stick doesn't actually happen, because we're talking not a couple of years, not 5 years, we're probably talking more than 10 years to actually make that kind of change. And there's a lot that they're fighting against. My own experience of dealing with a CEO's transformational project involved, the concept of implementing a lean and leadership model, which had been heavily corporatized by their favorite consultants. And the upshot of that is, when they started the program, they said it would be a 10-year cultural shift. And within 18 months, they were saying, we need to speed it up and hit these milestones and finish it off, because we need to be all done in 4 years. and everybody who was being exposed to this program, or subjected to this program is probably a better word, just said, well, we've seen it all before. It happens in cycles of 5 years. So, you know, I've been here longer than that. I'll just wait it out. Or if I'm really feeling like it particularly isn't good here, I'm going to change jobs. I'm going to go and get a transfer to another part of the business, because this business is so large, I can just move around in it until I retire and people will leave me alone.
Yes, well, when you have 180 days before your stay-in job, that makes it very easy for those people to dodge and weave.
Mm.
I did see an effective use on the other side. So we've talked to the downside and what that looks like. I have seen an effective upside. I'll say perhaps, and well, no, without a doubt, this leader was my best leader when it came to safety ever that I've had in nearly 30 years. And when he was challenged, so he was in a general manager role of a production plant in New Zealand. He was challenged by his boss, you know, you've had a lost time injury, what are you going to do now? And his answer was, well, I'm going to do nothing different at all. I will continue doing exactly what we agreed that we were doing. This was an awful event that we'll learn a lot from, but you know, the fundamentals are still there. Felt and visible leadership, investing time in safety rather than giving lip service to safety. And I'll keep my clear messaging to the team clear. All injuries can be prevented, including the one we just had. But you know, it took some courage and it took some faith in himself to say, no, we've got a plan. The plan is sound and we'll stick with the plan. And just because something happened doesn't mean the plan was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's rare, I think, for people to be able to have that fortitude, you know, the guts, the intestinal fortitude, to be able to follow through on something. And you've really got to have a lot of faith in yourself. You can't have a culture where 18 months and you're stale and you need to be looking at your next role, your next step up. You can't be in a culture like that. It's so easy for you to say, well, I came in with a good plan. Some of it kind of worked, kind of didn't, but you know what, I'm off. So, you know, catch you guys later.
Worse, you know, when you think about that mindset, you have two objectives. One is to kick any issue that you can see past 180 days, because then it's the next person's problem.
Yep.
And the other one is that you take common cause variation that's going your way and call it something that you did.
Yes.
And, you know, to make that a bit less subtle for some of the listeners, common cause variation means that things will go up and things will go down. So things will track in a positive way and they'll track in a negative way, and they'll oscillate from day to day, week to week, hour to hour.
Yeah.
The clever short-term thinkers piece together positive points in that random variation and try and draw it into a trend. And most business processes have such a longer duration that you can do that, because in a 180-day period, you wouldn't know. You might know in 365 days, you might know in 5 years' time, but in 180 days, you know, 3 points could be a line or they could just be garbage. So I have seen some less scrupulous leaders, knowingly or unknowingly, take credit for random variation as their leadership, because they can turn over fast enough that by the time it's caught up with them, that was 3, 4, or even 7 leaders ago.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?